Brennan Felton. I'm a senior editor at Bike Magazine. We're at the Kingdom Trails in Eastbrook, Vermont. Today we're looking at Intense's Spider 29C. It's their trail bike. That means it's got about 5 inches of travel front and rear. This bike sells for $6,700. If that's too much coin for you, you can get the frame only for $3,200. It's a full carbon frame. They also sell this with 3 different build kits. It starts from $5,900 to $9,500. So we're right in dead set in the middle with this one. What'd you guys think of it?
I've had a hard time with Intense VPPs in the past. There's been something about them that's a little bit too linear feeling. Like they've generally been too easy for me to blow through the travel. This one, definitely not so.
It's rampy. Like it reminds me a lot of Santa Cruz VPP suspension. You set it around about 30% sag, both in the shorter or the long travel, and it has in each of them a pretty solid mid stroke there. A lot of activity in there. It works. I like this kind of suspension. I've been a pretty big fan for a long time. I like its pedaling dynamics. I like the way it absorbs bumps. In the longer travel setting, it definitely is a little more linear than in the shorter travel setting, but
Which is
still,
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right. But it still sort of ramps up. It's a hard bike to bottom out. You look at it on paper, and this thing is a long bike. It's
Like about 46
close to a
inch.
46-inch wheelbase. Pretty long, 24.5-inch top tube. It definitely felt like it would be a bike that would just absolutely blaze some porcupine rim style terrain where you can, if you remember triple chain rings, where you could put it in the big ring and just like point it down square edged messy shit all day long, really fast. It's stable, it's planted, but the riding here is not.
It's not bad at all.
I still have fun with it. I kind of liked it. It was very, just very easy to read. It was very neutrally balanced. You could stuff it into things and it would behave. It was still, you could tell there was a lot of space between the wheels. I liked its composure. I thought it was a good bike. I really enjoyed riding it.
I was surprised that the wheelbase was as long as it was because, like the Yeti SB 4.5C that we had, to me this bike really. It was great on the bermed corners. It made me want to get rowdy, and I had a really easy time moving the bike up, picking it up, getting it in the air, stuffing it in corners. I was surprised that the wheelbase was as long as it was, and we kind of get back to this point that you can't just look at a geometry sheet and know what a bike is going to be right now.
And we've had that with the Ibis as well.
Yeah, we keep getting
And a few other bikes. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it gets back to that point, which is why we try not to look at the geometry chart. We just go out and ride the things. But sometimes it's surprising. I think a lot of readers go and look on the website and go like, "Oh, this bike's not for me." But the bike is really capable, I think, in tight terrain, more so than I thought.
It did help that it's a pretty stiff and relatively light bike.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, carbon front rear triangle, 34 mil stanchion fork.
Yeah, Fox for it's nice.
Yeah. So putting those types of elements into something that has kind of some cross country capability, it adds to the fun factor quite a bit.
Because I felt like when you got speed up a climb, it was unstoppable,
Yeah, no, for sure. When you're mocking up stuff, it rolls over things great. And I think that's the bigger wheel. But when I compare this to some of the other 29ers that we run, like, the Ibis, for instance, or even the Yeti, I honestly felt this one I didn't feel that the climbing traction was as good. But that said,
It definitely wasn't as good as the 4.5.
Yeah, I guess if you're going to go that route, if it was that kind of comparison, like direct head-to-head shootout, it's got a little bit longer chainstay than those bikes.
17.5.
Yeah, it may. I'd have to really get pretty critical back to back on all of them though to pick nits on that. I was very happy with the wet climb, and I was riding at the same trails that I was riding on other bikes. But I was willing to chalk anything that I may have felt up to biorhythms.
Is it time for you?
It's okay.
Would you guys, is there anything on this bike that you would change? It's got good spec, right? It's got really good spec. This is the Pro build, right? So again, SRAM X1 by, SRAM guide brakes. We've already talked about the Fox.
Renthal handlebars.
Those were so comfortable.
We felt like such dweebs. They're really good.
So it felt great, man, to speak on.
And for a little while, Shimano was the only reliable mainstream option, and the guide brakes have been just a breath of fresh air. I think on this bike, the the feeling of a quad piston brakes, it felt like a little bit too much for me. I mean, I think I
Do you drive a 4-cylinder?
Yeah, I do. I've got a little
Just
bit
tell
of
us how. You're saying it's too much power for you.
I drive it for some.
not too much power.
What do you say?
Not too much power, just it didn't have, the feel of the brake levers was not as feathery as the feel of the rest of the bike. I mean, that's the only thing that I could really.
That would have
That was
never,
nicely done.
that would have never occurred to me. I'm such an unsophisticated person.
That was kind of like a double compliment.
No,
But parsed initially as a criticism.
Yeah, my girlfriend asks me about her outfits a lot.
so you kind of skilled.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's well played. I like the Shram Guide. Those are exactly what I'd run with this, but touche on your wordplay there. Hey, so there you have it. If you want to know more about the Intense Spider, check out our Bible bike test issue. And if you want to see more bike test videos, go to bikemag.com.